Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really jumping into a set of sources you've shared, looking at, well, two big connected things. How you actually build a business plan, the real blueprint, and what's happening right now in the time market. We'll even look at a specific company and some new data tools.
That's the plan. We're going to unpack these different pieces, articles, reports, pull out the really important stuff, and try to connect it all so you get a clear picture. Useful insights for both business building and maybe investing in Thailand.
Exactly. Consider this your fast track. We'll kick off with the basics. What is a business plan, really? Why is it so crucial? Then we'll zoom right in on OR, that big company, see how they've been doing and what their game plan is.
And then pull back out again. All right. Look at the wider Thai stock market, see the recent ups and downs, what analysts are thinking.
Yeah, and wrap up with a look at some interesting new ways they're trying to make market data easier for everyone to access and, well, actually use.
So it's a journey, really, from one company's detailed plan to the big market picture, plus the tools to understand it better.
Okay, let's really get into this first big idea, the business plan. I mean, the sources, they define it as way more than just some document you file away. It's like a detailed roadmap, guiding everything ops, marketing, finance, the works.
One source even calls it the first step of doing business and success, which is pretty strong language, but it makes sense.
It really does. It's about getting that vision down, right? Making you think through all the angles.
So why actually write one? I mean, obviously, it helps you internally, keeps you on track with your own goals. But the sources really stress this other key purpose.
The external one, for funding.
Exactly. It's your main tool, really, for showing outsiders, investors, banks, whoever, that your business idea is solid, that it has potential. A detailed plan helps them see why putting money into your business is a good bet. It shows the value.
Makes total sense. You need to make that case. And the benefits come back internally, too, don't they? The sources list a few key ones. First, just writing it forces you to get the whole picture.
Yeah, you have to really understand your product, your service, who you're selling to, how it all works day to day, and crucially, the money side costs versus what you hope to bring in.
Right. No more hazy ideas. It makes it concrete. Second point they make is about strategy.
Yeah, it helps define your strategy. By laying it all out, you see what needs to happen first, second, third. You understand how, the small tasks connect to the bigger goals. It helps prioritize.
Okay. And third, measurement. Right.
Right. It becomes your benchmark, your roadmap. You can look at where you actually are versus where you plan to be.
Yep.
Spot problems early, maybe see new opportunities you didn't expect, and then, adjust.
And that leads back to the last big benefit we already touched on, getting funded. It's the document investors look at to judge if your idea works and if you can make it work. It's your big pitch.
It's interesting how it does both jobs, isn't it?
Yeah.
Internal guide, external sales pitch.
Yeah.
Needs deep thinking and clear communication.
So, okay, you're sold, you need this roadmap, but where do you start? Our source gives us these 10 essential parts for a plan that actually works both for running the business and potentially getting that funding.
Let's walk through them. What's number one?
First up, the executive summary. Think of it like your elevator pitch, but maybe like 1 to 3 pages long. It has to grab the essence, the mission, the product, the customers, the basic idea.
And the money parts too, right? Forecasts, funding needs.
Absolutely. Financial highlights, revenue, profit forecasts, payback time maybe.
Yeah.
And definitely how much funding you need and where you hope to get it. Oh, and the source says write this last, even though it comes first. Makes sense. Get the details sorted first.
Yeah, that's key. Investors might only read this bit carefully at first. It needs to hook them.
Okay, after the hook comes the company description. This is where you detail what you actually do. What problem are you solving? Who are your customers? Who else is involved? And crucially, what's your edge, your advantage, and how will you reach people?
Setting the scene, basically.
Then you got to show there's actually a market for this. That's the market analysis. So you present your research findings here. Market size, target customers, their needs, what trends are happening, growth forecasts.
And competitors, you can't forget them.
Definitely not. Competitor analysis is vital. Who are they? What are they good at? Who do they sell to? How do they sell? You need that intel to figure out how you can win.
Shows you've done your homework on the playing field. Okay, what's next?
Number 4 is organization and management. Describe your company structure. Who's in charge? Who are the key people? An org chart really helps here, apparently. Shows the workflow, who's responsible for what.
You can even get into job details, KPIs, key performance indicators for different teams, the source suggests. Shows you've thought about execution.
Makes sense. Then number 5, service or product line. What exactly are you selling? What are the benefits? What's the value, the profitability? If you've got lots of products, maybe group them.
And you need data here, right? Best sellers, trends, costs, suppliers, how that shapes your plans.
Yeah, exactly. Data on what sells well, market trends affecting your products, your costs, who your suppliers are, and how all that feeds into your production and marketing strategy. It shows the core economics work.
Right, proving the unit economics. Okay, halfway there.
Number 6, and this one sounds tough, marketing and sales. How are you actually going to get and keep customers? Need specific strategies reaching them, nurturing them, closing deals.
Budgets too, I assume?
Oh, yeah. Marketing and sales budgets may be monthly or quarterly, and forecasts for sales or ROI based on that spending, and the source is clear. These strategies change, you got to keep adjusting.
That's the engine that drives revenue. Critical stuff.
7 is the funding request, but only if you need funding, obviously. State clearly how much you need, potential sources, investors, loans, whatever, and crucially, link it directly back to the plan.
How the money achieves specific goals or covers certain expenses, right? Like X amount for year 1 gets us Y result.
Exactly. If you're self-funding, just a quick note is fine.
So that section is purely for the potential funder.
Got it. 8 is the big one for numbers, financial projections. Your current situation if you're operating, or the forecast if you're starting up. Funding, revenue, profit, cash flow, expenses, all of it.
This involves the proper financial statements, yeah. Income, cash flow, balance sheet projections.
That's right, projecting those out to show the financial path. The source warns this takes a lot of time, detail, maybe even special tools or help.
It's the hard proof that the numbers stack up, or are expected to. Okay, nearly done.
9 is the appendix. Basically the storage space for backup material, market research data, team resumes, product specs, legal bits, stuff that supports your claims but would bog down the main text. Adds credibility, especially for funding.
The supporting evidence. Makes sense. And the last one.
Number 10 is interesting, the emergency plan. Because, well, things go wrong, right? Unexpected stuff happens. Think about maybe 2 or 3 worst-case scenarios.
Like the source mentioned, the Tom Yum Kung crisis, COVID, those kinds of big shocks.
Exactly. And outline roughly how the business could react, using info from the other sections. Maybe new marketing, maybe downsizing, changing products. Just showing you've thought about resilience.
That shows maturity, preparedness, not just planning for sunshine.
And wrapping up this whole section on business plans, the key takeaway is it's not static. It's a living document. You have to keep checking it, measuring against it, tweaking it. Maybe quarterly, maybe twice a year, but always keep the main goal in sight.
Create the map, but keep checking where you are and be ready to reroute.
Okay, so that's the internal planning side. Let's shift gears now and look outside the company at the wider Thai market. What are the recent analyses telling us?
Well, one source gives a snapshot of the SET index, Thailand's main stock index. For the 2 weeks ending May 30th, 2025, that's 2568 in the Thai calendar year, the index actually dipped slightly, down just 0.12%. So pretty flat overall for that short period.
Flat, but maybe things were happening underneath.
Seems like it. There were mixed signals. On the plus side, some positive signs in global trade, and you saw Thai institutions buying. But that was offset by people taking profits after an earlier rally.
And maybe worries about politics. That always seems to be a factor.
Yeah, concerns about domestic political stability were mentioned as weighing things down. The index apparently got near 1,200 points for a bit, then fell back.
And did the sources say which sectors were hot or not?
They did. In that specific period, there was buying interest in electronics, banks, and petrochemicals.
Okay. And selling.
Some big names saw selling pressure. AOT, or interesting, we'll come back to them, CRC, Sawad, Minty were mentioned among others.
Right. So what's the short-term vibe? What are analysts expecting?
Sounds like maybe a bit of consolidation, sort of waiting for new reasons to move, maybe some news on those U.S.-Thailand trade talks.
But maybe an opportunity if things dip.
Potentially. One view mentioned was that if the index pulls back to, say, 1155 or even down towards 1120, 1100, that could be interesting for long-term investors, partly based on thinking the worst of the global trade issues might be over.
Okay, so recent past was a bit mixed. Short-term is cautious waiting, but maybe long-term chances on dips. Now, you mentioned OR was on that selling list. Let's zoom in on them. PTT Oil and Retail Business. What's their story lately based on that report?
Right, let's unpack OR. So the report says their full-year profit for 2024 came in at 7.65 billion baht.
Okay, and how does that compare?
Well, that's actually down quite a bit, 31% lower than their profit in 2023. A pretty significant drop.
Wow, 31%. What drove that?
The report points mainly to two things: lower oil sales volume overall and lower global oil prices.
Hmm.
Both hit their main mobility business, the gas stations, pretty hard.
Ah, okay. The core business took a hit from external factors, but was it bad news everywhere?
No, not at all. The other parts did better. Their lifestyle business, that includes Cafe Amazon, actually saw revenue increase by 8.2%.
And Cafe Amazon itself did well. I hear about it all the time.
It did. That revenue growth was largely thanks to expanding outlets and strong sales at Cafe Amazon. They apparently sold over 400 million cups in 2024. There's a lot of coffee.
That is an incredible number. What about their international side?
The global business also grew up 10.9%, mostly driven by more oil sales volume over in the Philippines and better profit margins per liter there too.
So a mixed bag for the full year. Core oil business down due to prices, but lifestyle and global segments showing growth. Any signs of recent improvement?
Yes, actually. Despite the full-year drop, their Q4 performance in 2024 showed a big jump compared to Q3. Revenue, EBITDA, that earnings measure, and net profit were all up significantly quarter on quarter, so maybe some momentum building towards the end of the year.
That's encouraging. Anything else notable from the report? Sustainability.
Yeah, they highlighted that. They got the top AAA ESG rating from the CESET again, and ranked #1 globally in their retail group by the Dow Jones Sustainability Index, DJSI, both for the second year running. So strong external validation there.
Okay, so looking forward, what's OR's plan for 2025? Are they optimistic?
These seem to be.
Yeah.
They're anticipating overall performance improvement in 2025. They're banking on the Thai economy, picking up especially tourism, consumer spending, investment, helping them out.
And how are they planning to drive that? Any key strategies?
Digitalization and innovation was called out as a key driver. They're definitely leaning into tech.
Makes sense. What about the different business segments?
For mobility, the fuel stations, the aim is to keep their leading position, but also push into new energy options. More EV charging stations, their EV Station Plus Z network, and using solar cells.
And the lifestyle side, more coffee.
Definitely keep Cafe Amazon strong, but also look for new investments in food and beverage and other lifestyle areas. They even mentioned potentially exploring health and wellness.
Interesting. And global.
They're really focusing on Cambodia as a second home base for growth, plus looking for opportunities in totally new countries, probably through partnerships.
And are they putting money behind this? Is there an investment budget?
Oh yeah, a big one for 2025. Total investment budget is set at nearly 18.9 billion baht. That's spread across mobility, lifestyle, global, and their innovation and new business ventures.
Okay, so despite that 2024 profit dip from oil prices, ORR seems to have a clear strategy for 2025: bet on recovery, innovate, diversify beyond oil, expand globally, and they're backing it with serious cash.
Yeah, it's a comprehensive picture of one major player navigating the market we discussed.
Right. So now let's broaden out again slightly. We've talked about plans and performance, but what about the tools we use to understand all this? Are there initiatives to make market data and analysis better in Thailand?
There are, actually. The sources mentioned a couple of interesting projects aimed at making information more accessible and easier to analyze.
Yeah.
Well, one big one is the Stock Exchange of Thailand, the SET, working with others to create standardized industry analysis reports. The goal is to cover like 70 different business sectors by the end of 2025.
70. Wow. What kind of info would be in those?
Things like the industry structure, current trends, risks,
Yeah.
the outlook, basically a good overview. And they expect to start publishing these from Q3 2024, so relatively soon. Should make sector analysis easier.
That sounds really useful. Anything else on the data front?
Yeah, Setlink is developing something called the E1 report and also an ESG data platform.
Okay. What are those?
They're basically systems to let companies submit their big annual reports, the 56-1 reports, and all their ESG data electronically. But the key thing is they'll use structured data.
Structured data, meaning it's formatted so computers can read and compare it easily, not just a PDF document.
Exactly. It makes the data much easier to pull out, analyze, compare across companies across time. It's a big step up from just reading reports.
So the benefit is easier reporting for companies, maybe.
That, but more importantly, much better data quality and accessibility for investors and analysts. It helps with things like generating reliable ESG ratings, comparing companies for investment, maybe feeding into those Thai ESG funds.
And when are these systems coming online?
Expected to be ready for companies to start submitting data in 2025.
Okay, so better industry reports coming soon and better company-level data systems next year. Both seem like good steps for transparency and making analysis easier for everyone.
Definitely. It's about giving people better tools to work with the complexity.
Now, building on that, let's weave in some of the specific investment ideas or strategies mentioned in the sources. Did they offer any perspectives?
They did. One outlook from back in March 2024 was pretty optimistic, actually. It expected the Thai market to start improving from Q2 2024 onwards.
And what was behind that optimism?
Mainly the idea of potential monetary easing, central banks cutting interest rates, and also the prospect of more government spending in Thailand kicking in.
So, looking ahead back then, what were analysts watching closely?
Key things were potential rate cuts from the U.S. Fed, the ECB in Europe, and the Bank of Thailand itself. And also oil price trends, which, as we saw with OR, are pretty important for parts of the Thai market.
And based on that view, what was the suggested play for Q2?
The strategy suggested back then was to focus on stocks where maybe performance had hit bottom and look ready to recover, and also to look out for possible sector rotations money moving between different parts of the market. Okay, that was the shorter-term view from March. What about longer-term strategies?
For the longer haul, one recommendation that came up was dollar cost averaging, or DCA, specifically for the Thai market.
DCA,
Oh,
investing fixed amounts regularly. Right?
exactly. The thinking was the market might be undervalued but still prone to swings, making DCA a sensible way to invest over time without trying to perfectly time the highs and lows. You just average your cost.
Do they mention any specific stocks that might fit a DCA approach?
Yeah, based on perceived fundamental strength and growth potential, the source listed some big well-known names. BBL Bank, BDMS Healthcare, BEM Transport, CPL Retail, PTT Energy, and SEC Conglomerate. Familiar names. And any thoughts on broader asset allocation, like stocks versus bonds?
There was a mention of a positive view on bonds around that time, mainly because yields were attractive, and if rates did get cut, bond prices would likely benefit.
Then for stocks.
For stocks, especially in emerging markets like Thailand, Vietnam, South Korea, the approach seemed more selective. Look for markets with specific positive catalysts, rather than just jumping into all emerging markets.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We really started right at the beginning, didn't we? The
Yeah.
fundamentals of why you need a business plan, how to build one, breaking down those 10 key parts from the summary right through to the emergency plan.
Yeah, laying that foundation. Then we shifted to the real-world context, looked at the recent ups and downs of the Thai market index, the mixed signals, the kind of wait-and-see short-term outlook.
And we put a specific company under the microscope, OR, dug into their 2024 results, saw the hit from oil prices, but also the growth in lifestyle and global, and looked at their pretty clear strategy and budget for 2025, focusing on recovery and innovation.
Right. And then we looked at the tools, the initiatives underway to make market data better and easier to use for everyone, with those industry reports and the new structured data platforms like E1 Report and the ESG platform.
It's really interesting seeing how it all connects. You know, the business plan is like OR's internal map. Their 2024 results are them checking their position on that map, hitting obstacles like oil prices.
Mhm.
The time market is the landscape they're navigating.
With potential headwinds, but also tailwinds like maybe an economic recovery. And those new data tools, they help both the company see the landscape better and help us evaluate the company and the landscape more effectively.
Exactly. Which kind of leaves us with a final thought, something for you listening to maybe chew on. We know business plans aren't set in stone, right? They need constant tweaking based on what actually happens and what the market's doing. So the question is, how can this kind of constantly updated, better quality data and the tools to analyze it help you not just make a plan, whether it's a business plan or an investment plan, but continuously adapt it as the real world keeps changing?
It really underscores that dynamic nature, doesn't it? Planning, investing. It's all about adapting.